What's happening, mate?
How do you mean?
Well, it's not exactly kicking off, is it?
Oh no, it never does. To 8 o'clock!
Sets up Larsson here. Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! O'Reilly, how about that for a pass? Jota! How about that for a finish? That is Jota for you! In for Henrik Larsson, and Moravcik! His first goal for Celtic! Here is Shunsuke Nakamura! Exquisite!
Good evening and welcome along to the Celtic Unrestricted View. It's myself tonight, JP. Hope you're all well. Hope you've had a great weekend. What have you been up to? You at the game on Sunday? Let us know in the comments. As I said, hope we're all well. I'll come straight into some early commenters, as I always do. Theo Isaac first in tonight. Good job. And evening JP and the chat. Mark McDonald, hail, hosts and chat. Another poor game, but a vital 3 points. Plunge, evening Fenians, hail. Naylor, hail. Our good man Ryan, evening all. Hope all is well. Massive to get the win. Hope it now kicks us on and we can't escape. Poor performance levels, players too comfortable. Tobias Juggamus, hail all. Gary, evening all, mate. Hope you're well. Chris Murray, evening, boys, and the chat. We got any other ones? James Kennedy coming in there. Good evening, JP. Well, good evening. Like I says, Timor Osiri says, fight, you've got to be kidding. They got lucky against a team like Motherwell. I'm not too sure luck's the best word to describe that. Certainly fight, desire and hunger, character. Those are the kind of words I prefer to use in that kind of circumstance. It's not easy, especially when things have not been going well of recent for Celtic. A few days prior to that, they lost to Braga in Europe. Another unsavoury night at Celtic Park. Be very easy just to, crumble and, go out in a whimper again. But for me, I seen fight from the team, especially when we made substitutes in the game. But we will come to that as we go. Ron Boy, good evening, mate. Hope you're well. And we Willie Column as well. Good evening, mate. Hope you are well too. Yeah, as Tobias says there, was indeed a big win at the weekend, especially going into the international break. Yeah, the international break, in my opinion, has came at a really good time. As you can see from the banner, folks, I think the majority of Celtic fans were probably having kittens through the game. I myself had a couple of moments yesterday where I felt a wee bit uncomfortable. And normally I don't get the opportunity to say that about Celtic, because usually, obviously, as everybody knows, we are really dominant and we normally run riot every time we take to the field. Of recent, just now, from the close of the transfer window, that's not been the case. We've not been plain sailing. The managers came out and he spoke about, there's something missing. We can all see it with our own eyes. There's a spark missing somewhere in the team. He's playing a lot of jiggery pokery to try and bring players in to create the spark. I loved his interview yesterday, folks. I really did. I loved it when he says that, you know, they're trying to, you know, change it on the field. You know, they're trying to galvanise the support from the field. Sometimes in moments of trouble and in moments of difficultness, then you need to find a way. You need to find a way to win. And it's especially at Celtic, the most important thing is to win games. And no, James, you're probably right, mate. A last gasp whistle winner. A last gasp winner is not great for blood pressure. But it certainly makes it all worthwhile, mate. I've always said in life, James, if things were easy, they wouldn't be worth doing. So sometimes when you pray for rain, mate, you've got to deal with the mud too. And being a Celtic fan isn't easy. It certainly isn't at times. But it does make it all worthwhile. And moments like that yesterday with Dyson scoring that winner certainly makes it worthwhile when you're on the end of the winning team. Al, good evening, mate. First goal, Motherwell. Scales has to be cleaning the ball, poor defending. I really don't think Scales comes into the equation, mate. See if you go back when if you're doing video analysis, right? When you go back to the play, it starts with Tony Ralston. He takes a heavy touch just outside the 18-yard box, and Motherwell then regroup the play from there. They then cycle the ball over. You could probably say that Sirachi's got to do better at source before it even gets to Scales. Then you look at that ball in isolation, right? For me, this is just me personally. I feel that that's more of a difficult ball to defend. It's low and hard. It's driven. It's gone at pace. If Scales gets to that first, who's to say that doesn't take a deflection off Scales and go into the net anyway? You know, the way that ball's been drilled over. I get where people are coming from. You know, he's certainly in a favoured position where he should be making a nuisance of himself there, in my opinion. In terms of just pinning the blame on Liam Scales, I'm not about that in that moment. I think there's other moments that, you know, that ball needs to be stopped. So yeah, I feel that there is other moments there that we can deal with, you know, the situation before it gets to that lone, hard-driven cross across the box. I think a man that's come under severe criticism of recent is Casper. You know, I've heard people questioning his movement in the moment as well. But again, Tony Ralston, he's for me, he's the catalyst there. He creates that actual move for Motherwell by taking a heavy touch on the ball. Martin Flanagan joining us. Good evening, mate. Hope you're well. He says, evening, JP. Hope you're well. Fight. Love that yesterday. Great to get 3 points. Love a last-minute winner, though. Liam Scales, excellent again, apart from the first goal. With no talking with CCV. Again, yeah, you could talk about a breakdown in communication there. But when I've analysed that back plenty of times, there's other moments in that goal for me, Martin, as well, that need to be dealt with before it even gets, before we're even starting to talk about Liam Scales in that actual moment. Celtic Maid, good evening. Hope you're well. G-Doc also, hope you are well. Yes, they did. And I noticed that pretty early on, Rubber Duck. They did let Liam Scales have the ball. I don't know what I was on. It kind of backfired on them, I thought, because for me, that was the only thing in Motherwell's game plan that really lacked anything, was their actual final third press. When they're coming through mid-60s into that kind of final third. One of their wingers, I'm trying to imagine being in the Motherwell dressing room. I would imagine they're being asked to go inverted, whereas the lad tend to stay wide, which then allowed Scales to come into the driving out of that 18-yard box with the ball. So I found that quite bizarre, if I'm being honest, because had it been myself, I would have probably tried to target Callum McGregor to go up against and press, because then it stops Celtic's movement in midfield. You look at Hatate's dropping every time McGregor's got the ball. Whereas when Nygren tends to play, you've seen it in the second half when Nygren comes on, Nygren expands the game with his movement because he's got legs and he can go higher, and McGregor tends to condense that and go in. So if it was me going up against Celtic yesterday, I would have tried to go about it a different way. Who was all at the game? Were yous at Celtic Park yesterday, folks? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why my game plan, Brown Warrior, would have been to go up against McGregor. I think we've seen Rangers do it before, and on that day it worked for them. But when you do it, mate, you need to have runners around about you. If you've got one player going up against him, because he's got that kind of iron needle type pass, mate, he'll, even when he's not playing well, he can still find it and he'll put you in trouble and you're on the back foot straight away. But yeah, Tanecki's at risk of becoming a sand dancer. James, you might need to explain that one to me, mate. Have I missed something? I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but have I missed something with Tanecki? Because the boy's unbelievable, in my opinion. He looks like a different level from anything we've had. It's probably since Jota's dropped out the team. So, yeah, I think he's going to be top class, mate. So, in terms of a sand dancer, what do you mean there, mate? Do you mean like a one-trick pony, or because he's got more than one thing in his locker? Yeah, he's allowed. He's never going to. The thing is with that one, James, he's never going to play brilliant every game. Larsson had bad games, mate, and he was the greatest ever, according to Celtic fans. So I think we'll allow him, especially in the time he's been with us and the way that he's played in the team. He's go back to the Braga game. He was outstanding. He was the only shining light in the team just a couple of days before it. No, I think for me personally, Tanecki's been unbelievable. Plunge, I've got to disagree with you, mate, in terms of he's offered nothing. He's still a danger. Even yesterday, he was still, look at I think it was about the second minute. He creates the move that McGregor pulls a great save off, and the goalkeeper. And this is one of the moments, folks, that, again, Celtic score that, then they get the penalty. It becomes a different game. You look at that and you say to yourself, well, that was a great save with a Motherwell goalkeeper. But he's never going to be, he's never going to be brilliant. Yeah, he was substituted because we were making changes in the game. He wasn't substituted because he was, Brendan thought he was rotten and he was taking him off. That's not how Brendan operates, first and foremost. Like I says, there'll be games where, where he's not playing well. But Tanecki's done very well since he's come in. Well, the games that he's played in, Naylor, you can only judge him what you're seeing. And for me, I feel that he's done extremely well in the time, in the time that he was there. I would have loved to have seen Tanecki play in the team with Nygren and Engels both come on. Engels added a bit of fight in the game, and Negrin added a bit more creative, technical ability that I felt was missing in the first half. So when you look at every time, even in this short space of time, go back to your point there, Naylor, about who he played against. He's played against teams that know he's dangerous because that's the last 2 games in a row have doubled up on him. That's not going to stop him, because he's dragging players away with him and his body movement and everything else. So he's got pace. He can, like I say, he's only just in the door. So again, give him time. We'll talk about him on the left. We'll talk about him on the left or on the right next year and see where he is. And everybody's hammering Balikwisha. We could go the other way about that and look at his impact yesterday. Up until then, people were saying, well, what's he brought to Celtic? What's he doing? Who's he played against? I could throw that back at people. So, it's players are just in the door. And this is what I've even mentioned it on the channel. Numbers a number of times now. It's many saves did the Braga goalkeeper make, James, from Tenecki the other night. I lost count after 3. And I know there was more than 3. So I think there was one that was getting in the top corner and he tipped it round the post for a corner. That was in the second half. So, yeah, for me, I'd say maybe 6 players you could think offhand that I would put money on now. They're going to make a difference in the Celtic team this season. Trying to bed into the Celtic team. When you look at it, you've got Kieran Tierney. Now, obviously, he's got his own kind of fitness issues. He's back in the team this season. Sirachi. You've got Tenecki. Benjamin Negrin. I heard something today. I don't know. Was it a comment I'd read earlier? And someone had says that Negrin has done nothing in the Celtic side. He's got 8 goal contributions, 4 assists, and he's scored 4 goals for us. Not a bad return for a guy that's done hee-haw. I can't wait he starts playing then if that's his return so far. And we're only 7 games into the season. It's not a bad return. No. While, all this negativity started with the board and what they've done and obviously are not done. And then obviously it's then ventured down onto the pitch. Players have lost form. They've went off form. We've lost players. Certain players have they've lost form and they've let personal circumstances affect them. You look at Dyson Maeda. This is a guy who him and his family probably thought they were leaving and pretty much had agreed a deal to go to Brentford. And that never materialised for him. So there's, you could probably say there's other guys there. Cameron Carter-Vickers has come under a bit of stick for Celtic fans. It's been one thing after another from coming out the club. Now, some of it's been self-inflicted, but a lot of it is down to the players, and it's that breeds confidence. I believe there's moments where things can spark change. Now, Brendan's obviously trying that, and he's obviously trying to make that impact on the training field. But he's also, he talks about a disharmony throughout the club. That's been created from the summer. Now, in terms of the noise level around Celtic, that's been ongoing now since during the summer to now. And that was similar to the COVID season when, you know, you go back to the COVID season, there was loads of noise coming out of Celtic. Griffiths came back unfit. He was overweight. That hit the headlines. Balikwisha. Poor guy's getting it. He wasn't even here. No Balikwisha. Bolingoli. Apologies for Balikwisha. If you're watching, I didn't mean to offend you, buddy. Bolingoli obviously does his midnight run over to Spain or wherever it was he went. And didn't tell anybody. You weren't allowed to leave you weren't allowed to leave the country. Then that hit the headlines. Then the season just starts to motor on and there's no fans. So then the whole Dubai fiasco, then the Neil Lennon thing, and there was lots of noise coming out of Celtic away then. And it's been the same this summer. Now, granted, bits of it have been created with Celtic's money men and certain things in there. No, my point is, Rab, there's a similarity this season, mate. So there is a similarity to what's happening just now. And the only difference is, no, it was a fiasco, James. The Dubai thing was a fiasco, mate. They should never have went to Dubai. It was a wrong decision made by the club. Again, people in charge making wrong decisions, making silly decisions based on, needs and wants at the time, because it did us no good in the end up. So, again, you make a decision based on the football club only if it's going to benefit the football club, not to be detriment to the rest of the season. And look how that season turned out. So, this season has had the makings of the noise coming out of it. And, we have, the players have let it affect them. And only right that it was going to affect them eventually. So now, yesterday, we see that, that fight, that hunger, that desire, everything that they've been questioned of over the last number of weeks by the Celtic fans, by people watching the football club. And I was, that's why I was so proud of them yesterday. I was so proud at the way they had the fight in them, because they were booed off the park at half time again yesterday. And that, for me, is embarrassing. For me, that's embarrassing. Bearing in mind, by the way, we played a team yesterday that hadn't been beat this season, and we're still no lost a game domestically this season. And the way things have been going, it's as if we're sitting with that mob across the water sitting on the table. I find it mental. I really, really do. Good evening, Francis. How are you, mate? Evening, JP. Happy with the fight back yesterday. And I seen the last bit of urgency, even though it took going behind to spark it. Sometimes that's what it needs, Francis. Sometimes you just need to go a goal down before. It's like a light bulb going on your head, mate. Going off in your head. And it just wakes you up. And it's like, right, hold on a minute here. We can't let this happen. And to me, that's what happened. When Motherwell scored that penalty, that's what happened. But yeah, we need to, like I say, I feel that the international break has now came at a right time for some of the players. I think some of them have been toiling. They're trying to find fluidity. They're trying to get the spark. It's not been easy. So yeah, as I said, we certainly haven't been free-flowing, and we certainly haven't been, fast attacking football. By the way, I've seen us worse and not get results. We're still getting results domestically. Like I says, we are unbeaten. Whether you want to look at that way, or we are unbeaten. But for me, there's players, still finding their feet, still trying to get to grips with Celtic. I think Brendan mentioned it brilliantly in his post-match. Obviously got some audio in case anybody hasn't heard Brendan's comments about certain players, and Balikwisha should be one of them. And obviously, looking for the outside, Celtic looks brilliant. Us as fans, we get frustrated by what's going on in the pitch, but we don't stop for a minute to think about what's happening elsewhere. So why are they being affected on the pitch? Why has things went this way? And it's not only down to recruitment, by the way. It's down to a collective. Things have went wrong. There's been wrong things happened. There's been failures to get to the Champions League with a squad that was fully capable of beating Kairat, albeit recruitment wasn't done properly. The methods of maybe done recruitment wasn't done properly. But that squad that played in that playoff were more than capable of getting through that tie. And they failed. So, who knows? Psychologically, by the way, that might have took a big effect on some of them. And losing to Kairat and going out the way they did has really been a sore one to come back from. And it's all right for us as fans to go, well, you just need to dust yourself down and move on and try and, get over it as best as you can. It's a hard one to get over, especially 3 years prior to that when you're used to playing Champions League football. So, but there's lots of culminating factors. There's loads of combining factors as to why things haven't went as well. Obviously, there's a meeting tonight. It was taking place at 6 p.m, I believe. So there is a kind of Celtic fans collective message went out earlier, and it reads, "We understand the entire fan representation at the meeting is as follows. Although individual organisations retain autonomy over their representation, the collective representations and others will meet prior to the meeting to plan a strategy in order that the meeting remains on track and productive." And it goes on to tell you who's present at the meeting for anybody who was wanting to know. So it says here, and this is obviously a detail of everybody who's going to be at the meeting from the Celtic fan base, and then obviously the hierarchy as well. So the Celtic Fans Collective times 7, affiliation of registered Celtic supporters clubs times 2, association of Irish Celtic supporters clubs times 2, Celtic Disabled Supporters Association times 2, Celtic Supporters Association times 2. It says here Boys Celtic times 1, Celtic Trust times 1, Celtic Green Brigade times 1. North Curve Celtic times 1. North of Ireland Celtic Supporters Clubs times 2. Not a member of the collective. And it just says at the bottom, thank you from the Celtic Fans Collective. So that's an indication of who, in terms of the Celtic fan base, who was going to be present at that meeting tonight. As of yet, there has been no indication or no messages or anything at all as to any information that's come out from the meeting. We won't know that maybe until later on, maybe even tomorrow, depending on what time the meeting is adjourned. It was at 6 o'clock, so who knows, it might still be in process just now, or it could be finished. We don't know. So we need to wait and see. We need to wait and see what's... I believe, Anton, Axom, the Celtic State of Mind, I believe they were going to be present at it. So they weren't on that list though. So again, I don't know if there's other people that have just not been put out from that list are also going to be present at it. It's one of those ones I think we'll just need to wait and see. Let's listen a wee bit to Brendan Rodgers. We get the thoughts from the manager on yesterday. This is him talking about, the feeling around Celtic, what's going on, and how it must feel from inside the dressing room.
There's absolutely no doubt there's a feeling that isn't quite what I would say is the Celtic feeling, but on the pitch to win games of football is what makes the supporters happy, and we're nowhere near our level. I can be clear on that in terms of where I would want us to be as a football team. It's nowhere near that level. However, whilst you're searching for it and looking to grow and settle players in, it's important that you win, and that's the demands here, and the players have done that.
So, obviously, as we've heard there from the good man himself, the most important thing is to win. For me, I've spoke to the boys even on the channel, Ryan and Alan, and I've said to them, my mantra in football is to win games. Now, it's the most hardest thing to do in football, in my opinion, is win. We're fortunate that we love and support a club that make it look easy. It's not easy to do it. It's not an easy thing to do. With winning then becomes an expectation to continue doing it, to do the rest of it. And sometimes it isn't possible to just keep winning all the time. So, for me, there needs to be a level of understanding of difficult periods. You will go through difficult periods. It's just been fortunate that we've, over the last decade or so, we've not had a difficult period, really, apart from the COVID season. It's how you manage difficult periods that define you. And a moment like yesterday, for me, that can then spark the team onto belief, give the team belief. And because there's teams in this league that can't win. There's teams in the league that don't have that winning feeling and don't have winners in their team. We're littered with it. Absolutely littered with it. And, sometimes I think that's forgotten about, And yeah, as I say, but every period of difficultness is usually self-inflicted, Mick. It's never brought on you by anything else. Celtic aren't setting out to not win football matches and not win games, but there's other, it's like dominoes, mate. There's other things that need to line up alongside it. And I'm not making excuses, mate. I don't know, and anything I've said tonight is an excuse. So if you can enlighten me a wee bit, I'd be intrigued to know what excuse I've made to you. Because, I understand football, I understand how it works. You're not going to win all the time. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't happen. Every big team in the world, or all your major teams in the world, they don't win every week. But what they do is they find a way to get by difficult periods. And that's what defines you more than anything. Celtic faced major adversity yesterday. Some of the players previously had been questioned about desire, will. Players have checked out. Players don't want to be there. The managers checked out. Loads of stuff was being said. Look at the fight they showed yesterday to get back into the game. The problem is, where some people might think I'm making excuses, is when Celtic win, I don't get too carried away. And see, when we don't win, I'm never too disappointed. So that's what helps me. Because, like I says to you, the hardest thing to do in the sport is win. So it's never a given. And maybe because obviously I grew up from the 80s onwards, I've had a decent grounding there. And remember when Celtic were poor. And remember when Celtic didn't win anything. And we watched our biggest rivals across the city, the original Rangers, dominate everything. Celtic were lucky if they won a Scottish Cup. Now, it's totally flipped now. But again, I've seen Celtic dominate longer than what I watched Rangers dominate growing up. And I'll never ever take it for granted. Never. And I think that helps me to yeah. No, it's fair enough, Mick. If you're older than me, mate, then you'll know what I'm meaning. So that, that's fine. So it's, but Stephen, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you. That'll be your homework. Try and guess. I'm definitely not 55, James. You do realise, James, I've got a block button on this, don't you, that you can be removed quite easily? Especially for unsavoury comments like that. We'll never have any of that part on here, mate. I'm no Michael Nicholson, or I'm no just sitting on my phone. I'll answer you, buddy. Don't worry. Rab, you're rang, I know. Oof. There we go. All the insults are flying in now. What is it? Is it because I'm on myself? You think you can all gang up on me? Sorry, I'm not a guy. You might have got away with that if it was one of the other boys, but nah, I will come back at you. I will say things that you might not like, but that's the way I am, and I'm never going to change. So, Stephen, are you asking me or telling me? Are you asking me or telling me? Just looked at the hairline. What hairline? I've got all my hairs. Rob, what are you giving about, mate? Rob, I bet you're the guy that used to be in the Hamlet advert, aren't you? And they replaced you with Gregor Fisher. A couple of wee strands of hair on the side. Well, the thing is with that, James Kennedy, that, you know, it's a grounding, mate. You know, I was given a grounding when I was growing up. My dad used to take me to football, and I remember I got to the games with my dad, and we'd be playing teams like Dundee United and James, I remember tickets way before that, mate. I remember the tickets before that, but I was in the jungle, aye. I was in the jungle. Me and my dad were at a game at night. Paul McStay retired, and everybody thought he was leaving to go to Juventus. Everybody thought he was leaving. And he threw his boots and his jersey into the crowd. And the following day, away back in the day then was there was no, it was all teletext, remember? You didn't have like social media and stuff then. All this updates you've got with Twitter and all the Sky and everything you've got. But I remember going to games, folks, and my dad I'd be saying to my dad, what do you think the score will be today? And we'd be playing like Dundee or Dundee United. And I see facts, James. Aye, definitely, mate. I remember it days. And Dundee United becoming and not having any fear. And Celtic were, you know, lucky to get a result. We were drawing with these teams and we weren't winning. I remember the days we were in danger of finishing second. So, aye, as I say, they were, yes, they definitely were. Aye, they were a great side. Teams like Barcelona and stuff were frightened of them, mate. They beat Barcelona, of course. Look at he's all. I can picture he's all sitting there watching me, giving it. Oh, he's definitely in his 40s. He might even. Somebody says late 40s or whatever it was. Defo mid 40s. Just keep guessing, guys. I think I'm enjoying this. To be fair, aye, keep guessing away. It's a good laugh when you do this and get it wrong. But yeah, obviously back on the football from yesterday. Brendan Rodgers was asked about like Balikwisha. Here's what he had to say on that.
Pleased with Balikwisha's input as well for that winner.
Yeah, he needed to feel something in the game. You know, it's again not easy for these guys coming in to play for Celtic. You know, I've spoke to them because Celtic's great. You look on the outside and you see trophies and you see big games and you see European football and it all looks great. But actually, then you come in and you realise, wow, the expectation here and what I need to do and every single day of my life, and then I have to produce then on match day. So so I think for him it's all been a wee bit of a blur, but I'm sure over time he'll prove to be a really good player here, and his little body work to let the ball run across and a great cross in for Dyson to finish will be fantastic for him.
So here's a guy that, in my opinion, he's come under a lot of criticism. You know, what's he brought to Celtic? What's he done since he's come in? You know, what's he going to bring to the team? All that kind of stuff. And I thought he was really good when he came on yesterday, if I'm being honest, folks. I really did. I thought he impacted the game really, really well. Some really nice play, calm, technical ability, showed some good runs. Obviously, he sets up Dyson's winner. Yeah, a lot of nice 1-2s. There was a moment just before Celtic got the winner, and he played about 2 or 3 1-2s back to back, and Negrin just underhit the pass to go back into his stride, basically. Either he was going to get a shot or try and low cut it back across the box. Yeah. So I thought it was a great impact. And I think that's a kind of game that, that could really kickstart him as well. But I've got to say, and I've said this numerous of times now, what's with the gloves, man? What's he doing wearing gloves? It was like 14 or 15 degrees yesterday. It was so mild. He's in trouble, man, if he's wearing gloves now. And he's he's jumping about with gloves on, and once the winter hits, man, he's going to be wearing leggings. He's going to be wearing the tight leggings around his thighs, man. Or shorts that come down to your knees underneath his actual shorts. I like the look of him. I do think there's a player in Balikwisha, but I think he's one of those boys who has come in. I know I don't normally swear as much on this channel. I know 100% Brown Warrior. I was going to say that the gloves are now worth a few quid, aren't they? They assisted Dyson in the winner as well yesterday. So, 100%, mate. I do agree with you. I'd be worth a few bob. I tell you what, with the way age bingo's gone now, the amount of numbers that are flying in the comments tonight, I reckon us as a channel could start a new bonus ball. With the amount of numbers that's flying in just regarding what age I am, I think we could fill a new bonus ball sheet. Ryan, if you're still in the comments, mate, start taking names and numbers, will you? Start taking numbers, mate. Let's get a bonus ball and go. We'll just put it down as our Christmas night out fund. I'm only joking. I'm only kidding. Stephen, you're wrong again, mate. You are wrong again. I quite like this. Stephen, you're wrong as well. Stephen Kennedy, you're wrong. So, I quite like this. For me, Engels made a big difference. I know he get booked, but he get booked for doing something that I love in the game. Smell the glove, you're wrong, mate. It's not that either. I feel Anton Nogan's left foot, you are wrong. So Mick, I don't know. Old age must be catching up with you, Mick, because if you've just said earlier in the comments that you're older than me, told me your age, and now saying I'm older than you. I'm beginning to think, Mick, you were Davy Weir's Johnny at the school, mate. I don't think you want to reveal your own age for all. Definitely not. There's a pork chop bouncing on me 47. No, you're wrong, man. You're all wrong. Well, Sligo, see, to be fair, right, you talk about birth certificates and all the rest of it. I've got two birthdays. One that I know, and one that you'll know. So, definitely, James Kennedy, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Rob, you do know I've got the block button to hand, mate. I did say that earlier on. But Ryan from the channel, if you're still in the comments. Monty John knows my age, but he's not telling. There we go. There we go. Let's yeah. There we go. Brown Warrior, you're 56. Wow. It's what time's it? What time are we on? I might reveal my age before we finish. I might reveal it. But it's although I would be interested to know if Mick's still there, what school it was Davy Weir went to, because he was a Johnny, innit? 100%. But when is JSP going to see the light of day? Good question. Very good question. It's a bit of an interesting one, James McKeown, isn't it? Because it's, you're right, James Kennedy, it is just a number. See, when, you make a move like that, right, and you come from Man City, and you're on loan, and you come up to Celtic, and the manager does an interview about you, and then he tells everybody you're no fully fit, or you're no 100% fit, or you've still got a bit to go in terms of your preparation. It kind of puts you on the back foot straight away. So it's, for me it's difficult, It must be hard for the lad. You think about the boy, and he's come all the way up here, and I do think he'll play this season. I do think we will see him. I think defensively we've been all right as well. So it's not like I would say, right, he needs to play because he's been crap, or he's been rotten, or he's no at it. Or I don't see that. Defensively, for a small change, doesn't seem to be an issue with this team. Plunge, I would love to, mate, but I think this game's more fun just listening to you all try to guess and reading it off of you. It's brilliant. Getting back to the Simpson Poozy, it must be hard, must be difficult, but it also shows, where he needs to get to, as well. It also shows that he's to try and break in to that Celtic side who haven't conceded a lot of goals. That's what, the third goal in 7 games this season we've conceded in the league. So I know we conceded 2 yesterday. One of them was a penalty, and that was unfortunate. Out with that, lads, I don't know if it's just me. I didn't think we were, we were bad defensively yesterday either. We just seem to be lacking that creative spark at the top end of the field just now, from midfield into the forward position. And I feel that, you know, yesterday, and I said this to the lads even in the group chat, I felt that yesterday will spark the team. Remember the Abada goal against Dundee United at Celtic Park? And we didn't look like scoring that day. We battered down the door and we just couldn't get in. And then all of a sudden, Abada scored. A couple of nights later, we played Rangers and we beat them 3-0. Now, for me, that was when we killed them mentally. We totally done them mentally. And that was the night, remember, McGregor had the mask on and he chased down Barisic and he was kind of like, you know, in his face and constant, you know, constantly hounding them that night. And we just absolutely annihilated them that night. For me, that changed Angie's season. And that was a moment. People talk about that season with the Anthony Ralston thing up at Ross County. But for me, the bigger moment there was the Abada goal against Dundee United. It really, really... Something like that, folks, can give players who maybe are down in the dumps a wee bit belief. And a small reminder to the ones who have been there and winning things and dominating and everything else that, no, you know what, we are still good enough to do this. We are still, you know, just give it a bit of time. These boys will show they are good enough. And I've got full belief, like I had at the start of the season. Now, unfortunately, things didn't go our way and we never got to the Champions League and things have happened off the back of that. But I've still got full belief in a lot of boys like Engels, and I've got full belief in these boys that they can really do damage in this team and really help this team motor on. And no more than so after the international break. Slabber and Kiabbies, thank you very much for your kind donation of £2. But nope, I'm afraid if that's a guess at my age, you definitely are wrong. But thanks again for the lovely donation. I agree with you, Francis. However, I have never questioned Engels' physicality and his work rate. Even when he's not having a good game, mate, he's got legs for me and he'll chase everything all day long. He just, you know, the way he is, even yesterday, I know he get booked. People go, what are you doing? Listen, that's aggression. That was something we didn't have in the game. We watched Eyes in My Head, I get pulled back. In the middle of the park. Now, there was no reaction to that. And then Engels came on. There was a foul on Nygren. Don't know if you remember it, folks. And it was over at the far side towards the north stand. And there was a foul on Nygren. And Engels chased after the boy. And really put his body in about him, let him know he was there. And kind of gave him a look as if, by the way, I know what you done to my mate there. And I'm not having it. Don't know about anybody else on here. I want to see Engels playing in the sixth position. I think he's tailor-made for that position. And yeah, I really do think he's tailor-made. Mike, you might be an old guy, right? I've just scrolled through some of the comments here, and I seen your last comment there, mate. You might be an older guy, mate, but that doesn't excuse you for a tearing off for a younger man like myself. Like I says, you know, I do have the power to remove people for the comments. I don't want to have to do that. But try and keep the gloves up, mate. Because if we're going to start going there, I'm the kind of wrong guy you want to do that with. Because like I says earlier on, I will answer you. A lot of the boys on here might know what to say. And, you know, I'll say I'm a big enough boy to certainly say something back to you. That's how, if there's anything on here, folks, that have been said before, I mean, I'm probably the biggest on here that's all for the banter, and I like a good carry on and everything else, but there's certain degrees that I just, you know, I wouldn't go near. No, Mick, that's 100% right, mate. We'll not be, you know, cards on the table, my man. I bet you know. Well, you could be. Listen, I've never met you personally. You seem a good chirpy guy, mate. You seem as if you're up for a good laugh. But aye. As I say, you seem as if you're in for a bit of fun and stuff. I like a bit of fun like everybody else. But I certainly will. I certainly will answer if I see something. Never ever. The way, my goodness, man. You're 6'7". What about when you stand up? What about standing up? What about standing up? Sitting down doesn't count. Sitting down doesn't count. My dad always used to tell me, don't mess with an old guy. Don't mess with an old guy who talks like he's 6'10". Don't mess with an old guy who talks like he's 6'10". But when he stands up, are you like Rob Douglas? Is that what you're like, Mick? You're like Rob Douglas? Rob Douglas was 6'3", but when he came for a boy, he was only 4'2". Is that what you were like? But no, as I say, it's all in good fun, folks. Don't you worry about that. Engels takes a lot of stick for me in the Celtic team, and I think he's one of the bright lights of the team. I think he brings a lot of energy, and I think that was seen yesterday as well. Nygren, I like what I see with Nygren. I think he's one of those ones that's really going to kick on. I can see Matt O'Reilly and Nygren. Early stages of it, but it's, you know, it's kind of one of those ones. I think the man at the helm, Brendan, who develops players, Mark, who's on the channel, he talks about that quite well. You know, Brendan develops players and he gives players belief. Now, some of these players have maybe needed a wee cuddle. Not every player is, you know, not every player you can go and shout at nowadays. The world's changing that way. Some players need a wee cuddle. Some players need a right good bit up the arse. And some players just need to be reminded, as in, you know, what they're doing here, where they are. It's when you know, you look at the opposition, and I keep going to it. That's the reference point for me. You know, look at the mob across the water. Jesus. I mean, you talk about, I think it was a commenter for Twitter on earlier. He mentions about fight and desire. It's a different world. What we saw at the Celtic game yesterday compared to what we're seeing across the water. Now, the mob across the water, they've just folded like a cheap suit. And it's, you know, but this is something that I wanted to mention. Well, I'm here on my own. I wanted to mention this tonight. And I think this is overlooked a lot of the time when it comes to the Celtic fans and everything else. You know, we have a massive rivalry, you know. And I mentioned earlier about Celtic trying to bed in players. I was speaking to the lads yesterday and we were chatting about that as well. And other teams have got players bedding in as well. Yeah, but they don't have the same pressures as Celtic. Nowhere near it. They don't have to contend with a fanatical fan base that Celtic have got. They don't have to contend with the pressure that Celtic are under to go and have to try and win every week, put on a show every week. You know, you listen to guys like Larsson and Hartson and Sutton, and I mean, these guys were big characters, but they became bigger characters when we, you know, when they got here, because Celtic put a demand on you. Rangers are the same. They've got a fanatical fan base across the water that put demands on them. Now, right now in their team, it's no there. It's, you know, the fight, the desire. I wouldn't say hunger. Hunger's probably the wrong word to use there. The best word I'm going to use is pressure. It can either kill you or it can make you. And how you deal with that builds character within yourself. And to play for Celtic, you need to have a certain level of guts, desire. But to come here and play, you've not only got to play for Celtic, you've got to contend with all that. You've got to contend with the rivalry. Well, half a city hate you, and half a city fucking worship the ground that you work on. So, add on that onto the mix, then you've got to go and play football, and yeah, you get paid a lot of money, but you've got to go and do it. But you've got to go and do it against teams like Dundee, Ross County, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs. Then you've got to go and try and do it against, you know, teams like Borussia Dortmund last season, teams like Leipzig. And it's a pressure cooker. And on top of you all the time. So I just feel sometimes that's lost. Us as fans, we get frustrated. We get told, no, this isn't good enough. This isn't, that we need more. We need to do this. It becomes an expectation. Why? Because Celtic have set the bar so high. They've went and they've won. They've conquered. I've said it. I was on BBC Sports Sound just a short time ago with the lads on there. I was speaking to Michael Stewart and Tom English, and I spoke to the lads, and I'd says to them, if Scottish football was a computer game, then it'd be gone. It'd be absolutely, that's it. I mean, they've completed it time and time over, Celtic. And that's where we'll struggle to hold on to our top players at the time, because there comes a certain point, even playing in the Champions League again, there comes a certain point where they need that next challenge. And I've said to the lads, and I've spoke numerous times on here about it, Scottish football just can't hold that draw anymore. The talent, it can't give you the platform that can elevate you to the next level. Now, we can do it as a fan base, we can do it as a club. Celtic are a massive fish, but in a very small pond. That's no Celtic's fault. I was on holiday a couple of years ago and a guy says, you don't play against a great level of opposition, so it's hard to judge when you are winning trebles. And I went, hold on a minute. I says, I just hear you saying it's hard to judge when you're winning trebles. I says, do you understand how hard and how many games that takes to do that? And he just looked at me and he went, no. And I said, well, you need to go and understand what that actually entails. Going to the wall, and players from England have came here and failed. big characters, big profiles, they've come up here and absolutely hit a brick wall because, you know, Scottish football's demanding. It's challenging. Not everybody can do it. We support a club that have made it look easy. So there's one other wee bit of audio I'm going to play for Brendan. We'll have a wee quick chat about that. And then I think we'll call it there for the evening.
Brendan, what are your thoughts on that today, your performance from your team?
Yeah, well, it was a fantastic win for us. You know, you can see why Motherwell haven't lost a game. The build-up play, how they build the game up and the confidence they play with. The coach deserves a huge amount of credit because we had to be really on it and organised and in our pressing and we get a goal from that. But there was other moments where they come through the pitch, so they deserve a lot of credit for what they gave to the game. But I thought our players deserved it. You know, I think all, you know, the mentality of going behind in the game. It's not easy to play here when you go behind, and but we kept fighting. The subs coming into the game made a great impact for us, and that final 15 minutes of the game where we had them pinned back and moving the ball at speed and creating opportunities was great to see. So the players, yeah, we're nowhere near our level. That's the reality. I think we can all see that in terms of where I would want us to be, but you have to get results when you're a player manager for Celtic, and you have to find a way and you have to dig deep and show heart, and the players did that today. Amazing.
Right, so what I was saying there about fight, desire, hunger, that makes it even more impressive. You're up against a team who haven't lost. They came to Celtic Park and they set up to have a go at us. Now, I think some of us were maybe taken aback by Motherwell's approach in the game. Now, for me, Motherwell maybe lacking something up front to really be a right dominant force in the league, because they're one of the best football teams we've played this season. I would say probably Braga and then Motherwell, especially at Celtic Park. Teams that will come and try and be expansive and play in and around and try and move through the pitch. You know, using pressing angles and strategy to build the game. It didn't work all the time for Motherwell. It actually cost them one of the goals, the goalkeeper trying to play out and Negrin nips it off him and scores. So, but, you know, it's impressive. And sometimes I think as Celtic fans, we need to, you know, we actually need to look at it and say, well, hold on a minute, you know. It's impressive that teams that, especially Motherwell, have came and done that. So see that, for me, folks, what Brendan was saying there, that makes it even more impressive, the way our players handle that, because Brendan talks about it's no easy. You know, especially the way things have been going. 3 days prior to that, we get beat by Braga. And albeit it was a great decision in that game that for me could have changed the game in a different way. Again, you talk about not playing well, and you know, there's moments in games that can give you momentum. A disallowed goal for a handball that was a phantom handball in the end, that could have changed the game massively against Braga. For me, then Celtic get a new energy and new lease of life when they get the result given against them, and it can suck the life out of you as well. So I just think sometimes as Celtic fans, there needs to be a level of acceptance as to not everything's going to go your way. Not everything's going to, and you need to try and understand why things might not be that way. But humongous amount of plaudits yesterday for, you know, you don't need to play well. We don't have to play well. That's a bonus. Playing well is a bonus. Winning is what you set out to do. Winning is all that matters to me. We were 2-1 down at Celtic Park yesterday. Humongous pressure. See, for any fan that's mentioned about players' character and desire and hunger, and for me that goes out the window. the subs came on yesterday, and that's what their job is. Their job is to impact the game. That's why you make changes in the game. He also changed the tactics of the team as well, and kind of got us more of the ball, because Motherwell were winning the ball. Motherwell's two controllers were in control. At that point, I thought Motherwell were getting too much possession in the midfield. Brendan brought Negrin and Engels on. Engels started his physicality, his press, that running power he can give us. Now, people can say he's not the best of players, and I think that gets separated with everybody thought he was Matt O'Reilly's direct replacement. He's a different type of player from Matt O'Reilly. He's not that type of player. Engels' game is based on, he's got some technical ability, shows that again with a great pass through to Balikwisha, that ball through the line with his left foot, by the way, not his predominant right foot, was exceptional. And yeah, so winning for me is the most important part in the game. Why do we as Celtic fans go to football matches? What do we do? You know, why do we do it for? Or what do we do it for? We go to watch Celtic win. We enjoy watching Celtic winning. That feeling done two things yesterday. That feeling done two things yesterday. It sparked a bit of unity in the squad. I've got no doubt about that. It certainly changed perspective on, hunger, desire. Players being written off. The manager was written off. And it also sparked an ignitement that possibly I've not seen for a wee bit of time now at Celtic Park with the fans. That ecstasy of Maeda's goal, yeah, it's never a better feeling. Don't take that feeling for granted, because there'll be times where it's not there. When it is, you need to try and enjoy it as much as you can, because like I say, there's teams in the league that can't win. So we move on. It's international break. We need to go again, and I'm pretty sure this group will, under the stewardship of Brendan Rodgers and Callum McGregor. Two guys who have been heavily criticised over the last period of time, but also questioned massively by members of the fan base and everything else regarding McGregor's finished, Brendan's checked out, he's not in it anymore, his heart's not there, he's not being as crafty at the side. I've even said that. No, he showed that yesterday. He showed he's up for the fight. Even listening to him in the voice notes I played there, even listening to him in that, you can tell he's up for the fight. Things off the field need to change as well. And there's too much negativity surrounding the football club at the moment. But if the fans can find a way to get this good feeling back, and we can kick on. And I believe we can still have a very, very successful season. And I believe we will. Alistair Johnson obviously returns after the international break. I think that's massive. That'll be like a new signing coming into this team. And I think, it's good stuff. Francis, cheers for taking the time and listening to me, mate. Enjoy your beauty sleep, pal. Aye. I'd imagine Mick's probably following you. He did say he was an old guy earlier, so imagine he's away now to not to join you, Francis. I'm not saying he's there with you or anything like that. I'm not trying to start any rumours when he be like me, but I'm pretty sure he's about to hit the hay. That's now hitting 25:09. I'd imagine. Aye, definitely. This is when the numbers start dropping in terms of reviews, or the older ones go to their bed. I'm only kidding, folks. But yeah, we march on in a positive note that we won the last game going into the international break, because the previous international break we didn't win, and we were kind of as if we were doing the dumps with that one. So yeah, what about ecstasy to give us? And yeah, Maeda, a man that's again been documented that he wants to leave Celtic, and I tell you what, folks, if he continues doing that between now and the end of his time at Celtic, I think we'll win for a treat. Let's hope we can continue on in that momentum and build on our fortunes, but to the detriment of a rivalry. And hopefully it's a right good end to the season for us now as we motor on. But we'll be back obviously this week with some more chat about Celtic. Probably the next one will be a bit more than just me myself, maybe. Maybe a couple of days on. But hopefully we'll have some news regarding the meeting that was taking place tonight at 9 o'clock, I was going to say, it's because of the time just now. 6 o'clock. And yeah, everyone that's tuned in with us, thank you very much tonight. It's like I say, being a Celtic fan is not easy, but it's certainly all worthwhile, folks. So for the time being, take care, enjoy your week, hail, and we'll see you all again on the next one. Bye-bye.
Sets up Larsson here. Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! O'Reilly. How about that for a pass? Jota! How about that for a finish? That is Jota for you! In for Henrik Larsson. And Moravcik! His first goal for Celtic! Here is Shunsuke Nakamura! Exquisite!